and Katie. From Silver Linings Playbook, Bradlee Cooper and Robert De Niro.
Were you slightly intimidated?
That's a good question.
The cast's personal connection to the film.
I don't like to get emotional, but I know exactly what he goes through.
And catching up with Hollywood's hottest hunk.
I understand you're single now.
Plus, we take Bradlee by surprise. From Studio One in New York, it's Katie.
Today. I would say I'm jealous, but I'm here too. You know, it's not often that we have a legend in our studio. After all, I think that word gets overused, but today it is totally warranted. And judging from another performance, we also have a legend in the making. Both actors are in the critically acclaimed film Silver Linings Playbook, which has been nominated for a whopping 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and in all 4 acting categories. Today, 4 of my favorite words. Robert De Niro is here. But we begin with 2 words I'm equally excited about. Bradlee Cooper. His character, Pat, is battling bipolar disorder, looking for a new beginning and hoping for a silver lining.
Yeah, about a week before the incident, I called the cops, and I told them that my wife and the history guy were plotting against me by embezzling money from the local high school, which wasn't true. It was a delusion. And we later found out from the hospital that's because I'm,
Undiagnosed bipolar.
yeah, with mood swings and weird thinking brought on by severe stress, which rarely happens, thank God.
So, please welcome to the show, Bradlee Cooper. Thank you so much for being
Congratulations
here.
on your show.
Thank you.
My mom and I watched Jennifer Lopez and Jason Statham.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
Well, thank you for watching.
Yes.
I appreciate that, and especially thank you for coming in. You know, this is such a great movie.
Thank you. You know, we met before.
Yeah, you know, I was trying to think of when we met.
I was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I was sitting there, and I went through a period where I stopped smoking and I was chewing toothpicks. We never met each other. She comes walking up to me and takes it out of my mouth. What are you doing with a toothpick in your mouth at the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Do you remember that?
Kind of.
It was amazing. I was like, I love this woman.
Oh,
anyway, sorry.
Anyway, that's okay. Well, let me talk to you about this movie, Bradlee, because first of all, you must be on cloud 9.
Yeah, it's exciting. You know, we really put our hearts into it. It's a very personal movie. So
and we're going to be talking a lot about the movie and a lot of the very important issues I think it raises. But in preparing for this interview, in addition to the toothpick episode of that party, you got one of your first big breaks, I know, playing Jake, the downtown smoker in Sex and the City, which, and by the way, Bradlee, I've seen this episode literally probably 59 times.
They shoot single people, don't they?
Yeah, I love this episode. Let's take a look at a scene from it.
You want to go for a ride in my Porsche? I need some smokes. Do you want anything?
Not too shabby.
But the thing about that was that he was supposed to be like the cool guy, and they couldn't have cast a more uncool guy. I couldn't drive a stick shift car. I was so nervous about the kissing scene, and it was like a mess. Yeah, but you know.
You later caught my eye in Wedding Crashers, one of my favorite movies. I'm not ashamed to admit.
Thank you.
But you play the biggest jerk on the planet.
Yeah.
Sack.
Sack Lodge.
Sack Lodge. He is such a horse's you-know-what.
Oh, he's the worst.
He is. I hated him, but you were so hilarious in it. Let's take a look at that.
Getting over here.
Down!
Come on.
Ready, down, set, hut, 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 hut.
Go, Jeremy!
Here we go. Hit me. Booyah!
Big tree fall hard, right?
Oh, my God. That was an incredible experience.
Was it?
Oh, yeah, because Vince Vaughn.
And didn't he do a lot of things off the cuff during the course of the movie? Like, we've got a stage 5 clinger.
So many to take off the white wig, you know, you lock it up, no, you lock it up. You know.
And all the syrup.
Everything. You motorboat. Yeah. You old sailor, you. I mean, there's so many lines. Yeah. And he actually was infectious, so like big tree fall hard. That just popped into my head. And I'm like, that was a pretty odd thing to say. But they kept it in.
I think it worked. Your career really took off, I think, also with The Hangover. And,
You think so?
Well, I mean, why do you think that was so huge, that movie?
There was an interesting storyline. You know, there was this ticking clock, and also Zach Galifianakis is in the movie.
So funny.
And Ed Helms, and they're the best. And Mr. Chow, Ken Jeong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You guys,
And Mike Tyson.
you did Hangover too. I mean, are you working? You're doing Hangover 3,
We've
aren't
wrapped
you?
it. Yeah, it's done.
Oh my God.
Comes out May 25th. Not very soon.
Now, when do you know when to hang it up for The Hangover?
What are you trying to say?
No, I don't know, Bradlee. But I mean, how
I think it's time to put Phil Winnick away.
Possibly.
And cut the hair. Yeah.
What do you think?
It's over. That was it.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a trilogy.
And I also understand you're single now.
Do you understand?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Does it bother you? I mean, people are... Sorry. Are you okay?
Yeah.
People are always writing about your love life, Bradlee. I read some of those magazines
A lot of
in the
crazy
nail
stuff.
salon.
Yeah.
And I always see who you're with and who you're dating. And is that hard? Because I'm sure you would like to have a nice, stable relationship at some point.
You know, I vacillate between being fascinated by it and then also being like, it's a real bummer.
Maybe it'd be easier if you dated somebody out of the business.
Yeah. What do you mean? Wait, hold on a second. Wait, how do you know? How do you know I don't?
I don't know
Exactly,
you don't.
because they won't write about that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's what I'm saying.
There you go.
Maybe it could afford you a little more privacy.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess one of the good things about being single, at least publicly, I don't know all the details, but is that you're taking your mom to the Oscars this year.
I am taking Gloria.
so nice.
I hope so. Although a couple days ago she threatened not to go.
Why?
Well, just it's a bit, you know, because there's scrutiny. It's like, you know, it's rough. So she doesn't
I
want
hope
to. But
she
I hope
does
that's
go.
what I said. I said, look, it's like we can't let that bother us. Like, you know, I mean, my father passed away 2 years ago, and the idea that I'm going to the Oscars nominated with Daniel Day-Lewis and Hugh Jackman and Denzel Washington and Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, this is. I don't want to. Let's enjoy every second of this.
I agree.
You know, like let's not let a message board, you know, talking about, you know, what she's wearing or something awful.
Yeah, tell
like
her just not to read that
but
stuff.
It's hard.
And as you mentioned, your dad passed away 2 years ago of cancer.
Yeah,
so
January
I guess
15th.
this would be a really wonderful thing for her. And I know you and your dad were very close.
Yeah, our whole family, my sister, my parents, yeah.
And he was a big movie lover.
Huge. The reason I became an actor for sure was because of him.
Did he talk about movies all the time?
Incessantly, yeah. We were, you know, Robert De Niro. Matter of fact, it was so crazy. I have this compilation of videos that I just turned into a file, and my mom and I were watching it the other day. And we were on vacation, and I was like 17, and my father and I would do bits all the time. And it was like an old camcorder, you know, back, it was like 1995 or something. And I was pretending, and I was like, yeah, we got Robert De Niro over here. And I literally said it, and it was like my heart stopped, because we just watched it the other day. It's so crazy.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah, really weird.
Yeah.
And I know that your dad always dreamed of being cast, even a cameo, in a movie. And you were able, your dad's name was Charles, and you were able to make that happen when you did
thanks
the
to
A-Team.
Joe Carnahan, the director of the A-Team. He came up with this idea that when we were getting court-martialed, the Admiral's Court was, one of the admirals was Joe's father, and then my father, and then an actor. And of course, Joe's father and my father just kept talking. Improvised the hell out of the scenes. Jessica Biel was there. My dad's doing scenes with Jessica Biel. Gets up, takes her for a walk. I'm like, the camera guy's like, what's happening right now? It was unbelievable. He did the scene from A Few Good Men. He's saying it. He's like, you can't handle the truth to Liam Neeson. I mean, it was nuts. It was nuts. He went crazy.
Did everyone love him?
Yeah, everybody was like, but I was like, it was crazy. I really, oh, maybe this is where I get it from.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I know if you blink, you'll miss your dad, Charles, in the 18, but we have a clip of the scene he's in, so let's take a look at that.
Wow.
Black Forest been brought to trial. Black Forest and its personnel are not subject to military jurisdiction.
Where's the plan, boss? Where is it? Where's the escape hatch? Because I don't see
This mission isn't over, Lieutenant.
Yeah. He was very sick then, too.
I bet you missed him.
Oh, yeah. But he never, it was weird seeing that because when I was watching the videos, he was such a huge Irishman. And I always remember his wrists were like so thick. And I have these little wrists, and I always wanted his wrists. And then seeing him that, you know, the last 5 cancer is a hell of a disease. And man, it was incredible how he transformed, you know.
Yeah, it's very, very tough. I know that from personal experience.
Yeah.
But when we come back, Bradlee, we're going to talk about Silver Linings Playbook. And I'm very excited because we have a little surprise for you.
Oh, yeah?
And I don't think you know anything about it, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Up next, who's here to surprise Bradlee? And later,
Please welcome Robert De Niro.
Sorry. Oh, Jesus.
Why was that so emotional for you?
Well, I mean, the truth is, all the guys I went to school with were in the audience, you know, and my teachers, and it was just like, it was pretty, and it's all kind of overwhelming, and I used to be in the audience.
Right.
I thought I was going to be fine, and right away when I walked on the stage, I thought, oh, no, this is going to be really difficult.
Well, I know.
And obviously you saw that. It might happen now, Katie.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Do you need a moment? Back in 1999, when you were a student there,
It was like
and
a horse.
you were sitting in the audience,
Yeah.
you actually got to ask an actor named Robert De Niro a question.
I know.
So let's take a look at that.
How you doing, Mr. De Niro? My name is Bradlee Cooper. My question is regarding awakenings. You talked about your research and how you interviewed a lot of patients, people who had different diseases. And there was one mannerism that you had during the interview process when they were asking you where you wanted to go outside the building, go for a walk. And you went like this with your finger, and you sort of made up for it by rubbing your eyebrow.
Right.
And I was wondering, is that something that you would saw people do, sort of try to make up for their tics, or was that something that happened in the moment?
That's a good question.
Do you remember what he said to you?
Yeah, I remember exactly what he said. Yeah, in fact, he sort of took his time and said he never saw anybody do that, you know, something that happened in the moment. And then at the end of that was what they played. He went like that, and he went, it was a good question. And when he said that, I'm not kidding, it was like a beam shot through me. And I was like, and then this smile, if you had done the reverse shot of that, I was like this. And I wouldn't, you're supposed to sit down, you know what I mean? Because the next person, I was just like this. And the guy had to tug me down. I was like, what? And I asked for that video because for years later, I always thought, like, you know, go with your gut, you know, because look what happened. You had Robert De Niro, your hero, say that's a good question. So.
Well, we wanted to turn our little show here, the Katie Show, into our own version of Inside the Actors Studio. So we have a couple questions from our audience. First up is Jessica from New Jersey. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, how are you?
Have confidence. Ask Bradlee a question.
Hey, Jessica.
Hi, Bradlee. First of all, congratulations on your nomination. It's amazing. I'm a super fan of yours. And I guess my question is, I heard that you might be looking to play Lance Armstrong. It's definitely in the media right now, so just wanted to kind of get it out there and see if that was true.
Last week, we were taking the movie around the world, and I was in Manchester doing BBC Morning Show, and the guy says, out of nowhere, he's like, so Lance Armstrong, you thinking about playing him? And I was like, I had no idea what he was talking about. I was like, yeah, he's a fascinating character. That'd be great. And that was it, like nothing. And then my mom, you playing Lance Armstrong? And I was like, what are you talking about? Then I went online and there was like this whole thing, and then it said J.J. Abrams has the rights to it. I had no idea. And J.J., I did that show Alias with him. I know him really well. So then I emailed J.J. I said, is that true? And he said, yeah. He's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, so maybe we'll talk about it. But that's it. There's literally nothing other than that.
Thank you, Jessica, for that question.
Thank you.
Now we have a question. This is James from New York. James?
If heaven exists, What would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gate?
Oh, my God. That is a surprise. That's so crazy.
Hi, James. How are you? Sit. Have a seat. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. I know you just had knee surgery recently, didn't you?
3 weeks ago, this moment.
Wow.
I was on an operating table at the hospital for special surgery, and Dr. Polici replaced my entire left knee.
Wow.
Well, thank you for coming.
And I walked out.
Nice work.
And I'm walking
nice
on it.
Work.
I'm fine.
It must be so exciting for you to see one of your former students doing so amazingly well.
Over the past 19 years, I've been asked hundreds of times, who is the guest you would most like to have on your show? You're familiar with questions like that. And I've answered always the same way. The night that one of our graduated students has achieved so much that he or she walks out and sits on that chair next to me will be the night I've waited for, not just 19 years, all my life. And he did it.
And it's true, he did say that. I remember during orientation of the school, that was at the end of when he introduced himself, talked about the next 3 years and what we would have to do, and he did say that his goal was that. I remember that.
Did you see something special when Bradlee was a student?
Look, I don't want to sound prescient or precious.
Oh, go ahead. And I like that, prescient or precious.
Yeah. But when he auditioned for us, I knew within moments that he was appropriate for. Remember that the Actors Studio is notorious for the difficulty of admission. Jack Nicholson auditioned 5 times to get in. Dusty Hoffman 6.
Dusty.
Harvey Keitel 11.
Wow.
And this guy walked out and he auditioned about 10 seconds in. I began to get that feeling. But his parents haunted the 3 years that he was earning his MFA with us. And they were there for everything that he did, including his master's degree thesis. But in any event, they would always, all the parents, when they would be there, because I was the dean, they would look at me anxiously, is my kid making it? And once I think they asked me, and I said, he's going all the way. He's going all the way. All the way, by that I meant that he would have a real career, that he would have this amazing career that he is having. It hadn't occurred to me yet, and that he would be nominated for the Academy Award. It's not just his dream coming true, it's my dream coming true.
Well, it's wonderful. You are justifiably proud, and thank you, James. So good to see you.
Thank you. This is the debut of my new knee.
I know. A brilliant performance. When we come back, we're going to talk about the movie Silver Linings Playbook and all the issues it raises with the co-star of the film, Robert De Niro. That's right after that.
Up next, working side by side with a film legend.
This is Robert De Niro here, Bradlee.
I know.
Were you slightly intimidated?
Plus,
You all have a 1-year-old daughter?
Yes.
Were you crazy?
I know.
that's next.
And we're back with Bradlee Cooper. Robert De Niro plays Bradlee's dad in the film Silver Linings Playbook, a father confronting the challenges of raising a son with mental illness. Take a look.
It might have made you feel worse about your behavior, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to handle it. I mean, that's what all this Eagle stuff is about. It's about us spending time now. I want to do everything I can to help you get back on your feet. That's the whole point.
Please welcome Robert De Niro. Sit here. This is so exciting to have you here. Thank you. Thanks for coming. I know doing interviews isn't your very favorite thing to do, is it, Bob?
Something, but that's okay.
Once in a while. So this movie is been so critically acclaimed. Congratulations. I thought you were just phenomenal in it. Which is no. No surprise.
Oh, thank you.
And it's been nominated, I guess, in all 5 big categories, which puts you guys in unique company with Gone with the Wind, Silence of the Lambs, and The Graduate, which is really incredible. So, you know, I love the movie, and it seems like everyone who sees it really loves it. Why do you think it sort of captured the public's imagination?
Do you want to?
Here we go.
That's a good question. I think it's because it's relevant. That's why. All David cared about was making it real and making it about these people who may be seen in certain circles as on the fringe, the other, excluded, not included. And I think this movie served, for many that have watched it, to be a signpost of saying, you know what, no, we're all a part of the same thing. And let's stop judging it and coding it as bipolar being something other, and let's look at the human aspect of it.
Were you at all, I know that you all had done a film together before, Limitless, yes?
Yeah.
But having said that, were you still slightly, I mean, hello, this is Robert De Niro here, Bradlee.
I know.
Were you slightly intimidated, even the second time around?
But here's the thing. Here's why, one of the reasons why he's the greatest is that the answer is no. And it's because he makes you feel comfortable right away. And he's grounded. The guy's been doing this for 40 years, arguably the most famous actor of all time. And yet he is a family man to the core, and he's present and talks to you. The guy just gets it. You know, he's an incredible, I'm sorry to embarrass you, but you know, and I love him dearly, and it's because he's opened his heart to me and many people, and you know, that's a beautiful thing, and that's why he is the way he is.
Yeah. Really, I agree. So honest, no, it's actually so nice. I've had the privilege of, you know, being with Mr. De Niro occasionally at social events or charity events, and he is the most unassuming, humble person, and it's so, you know, okay, enough about you. Anyway.
One of my favorite things is when I have friends around, I'm like, Robert De Niro's gonna be this, just, you know, he's like, what? And then literally after 2 seconds, they're like, the guy's like, I can't believe it. It's like, he makes me feel, I can't believe it. And I said, I know, I just know you're normal.
Other than Silver Linings, what is your favorite Robert De Niro movie?
Oh man, you know, it's almost impossible. The one that it hits me in a way that like is Awakenings for me. There was just something about what he did in Awakenings.
That's the question you asked,
yes,
right?
and what he tapped into. And if you go back and watch that movie, it's just when he's dancing with Penelope Ann Miller. I mean, it's incredible.
What do you see in him?
Well, Bradlee's very committed, smart, wonderful actor, and a good person. And we relate, we connect, so we became friends, and I have great respect for him and love him. So, you know.
That's nice. And before we go to a break, I just want to say congratulations. Of course, I see your wife, Grace, sometimes out and about. You all have a 1-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What, are you crazy?
I know. Yeah, I see you. How can people at a certain age have children? But
so are you enjoying it?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
She's so beautiful.
Really?
Oh, yeah. No, but it's great. She's wonderful. Just instant joy.
Well, that's wonderful. Congratulations on that. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about all the issues, very important issues raised by Silver Linings Playbook, and you'll meet the man behind the movie. That's right after this.
Up next.
Did you feel a greater responsibility doing a film that David had so much personally invested in?
I don't like to get emotional, but I know exactly what he goes through.
That's next.
The men of Silver Linings Playbook. Did I mention that I love my job? Bradlee Cooper and Robert De Niro, and David O. Russell is the director of the film and also nominated for an Oscar. Welcome and congratulations to you. I should have mentioned congratulations to you also, Mr. De Niro, nominated for an Oscar too for Best Supporting Actor. I know that you've directed, David, Three Kings, I Heart Huckabees, as well as The Fighter, all incredible movies. What was it about this particular film that appealed to you?
Well, it was about 5 years ago that the story was first shown to me by the late, great director Sidney Pollack. It was Matthew's novel, which is so wonderful.
Yeah, Matthew Quick, by the way, the writer is here, the novelist.
I've had a son who has mood disorder, which, means someone can have moods that can pull them down the drain and send the home into a tornado in moments. And a son who, at times when he was 10, 11 years old, told me life was so hard he didn't know if he wanted to keep going, So I would do anything for him. And so when I came to this, I wanted a story that would really help him feel like he's part of the world. And this story just seemed like the right story because it's not precious, it was human, it was relatable, it was the people like in The Fighter, it was a community, and it just had romance, and it had all this enchantment. Because without the enchantment, you can't make it through the hard times. So to me, that's what the whole movie was.
What was that primary message that you wanted to convey?
That people who struggle with these issues are part of our lives, and many families fight every day for their lives, of their loved ones, and it's not spoken about. And I think it should be spoken about, and I also think that we can all learn from them, like anybody, from anybody who's challenged. My son has grown my heart 5 times. And I might have been a parent who was, geez, my kid going to get into this prestigious school or this prestigious school. Instead, I just wanted him to be happy and enjoy his life. And he's taught me to be so patient, and everything I learned from him is in the movie.
How did David's experience, Bradlee, inform the way you portrayed Pat in this movie?
I mean, everything. The first conversation we had was talking about, the heart of this character. And I was terrified, because I knew how personal it was. And there's a couple close people to me that suffer from certain issues, and I spent a lot of time with his son.
Your son has a cameo in the movie.
Yes.
Did he get a kick out of that?
Well, it's an interesting story. He had to audition for it, and he had to earn it. I don't believe in Hollywood kids that just turns them into brats, So he had to earn it all at school. He had to do well with school and his behavior, and he had to audition and earn how precious it was. And everyone was very patient and loving to him on the set.
Perfect timing. That was perfect timing.
Or not.
Except that one moment.
That was always a scene I had in my head because, you have this chaos in your house that's so humbling. He observed these reckonings of the soul, whether it's a marriage or a child, they always seem to happen in your pajamas at 2 o'clock in the morning. You look over at the neighbors like it's going down. Somebody's on the lawn in their pajamas with a bloody nose. What is happening? And it was really beautiful because my son got to play the nosy kid next door. And Bob De Niro, being very protective, says, get out of here. Get out of here with that camera. Leave my son alone. He says, don't worry, don't let people talk about you. He's very protective, And I know what that's like. I've lived through that with all the schools and everywhere you go in a restaurant, anywhere you want to be protective. It was beautiful for my son to be the guy who had to, and not this guy, he had to be the other guy. And I just want to tell a very funny story, is that one of his big scenes when Mr. De Niro chased him, which we just saw, in the middle of this bipolar episode where Bradlee really gives such a stellar performance, an amazing performance, where he's having that breakdown about missing his wife. Anyway, Matthew rings the doorbell and De Niro chases him in his pajamas. And the first take, Matthew just starts laughing hysterically. And I said, what are you doing? This is serious, And he said, oh my God, it's like I was in Raging Bull. He said, because he doesn't tell you what he's going to do. He's so in the moment. He didn't tell us that scene you saw where he cried. That was not scripted. That was not directed. I never asked for it. I never even had a conversation about it. We were just so grateful. You asked him if he was intimidated to work with him. He said, no, he's comfortable. I was very intimidated to work with him, because I just have so much respect for the man, and he set the tone for the whole set. But he just did it. And we were shocked. We were like, oh my God, Robert De Niro's crying in this scene. And so, we asked him to do it 1 or 2 more times, And he obliged us.
He did.
But so anyway, so Bob comes out and pushing him, and I said, you can't do that. He said, but it's not like I'm in Raging Bull, and it's freaking me out. And eventually he said, you know what? It's real. A teenage kid, if a grown man with a bloody nose in his pajamas was pushing him, might start to laugh nervously. So let's play it. And that became a very beautiful moment in the film where he says, I'm going to come back here, I'm going to break that camera over your head, then I'm going to come back and interview what it's like to have that camera broken. What are you laughing at? I'm sorry. And he immediately realizes that he's out of control, but he gets to say, what are you laughing at? And so he used it. He taught us all. He taught us all.
Did you feel a greater responsibility, Bob, doing a film that David had so much personally invested in?
Oh, of course. I mean,
I understand what but I don't like to get emotional, but I know exactly what he goes through.
You understood some of the same experiences that he's had with his son. So clearly this became an important cathartic experience for all of you, you know, a communal experience.
I mean, when I first showed him the screenplay in his home, you know, we all know people who have faced these challenges, and we've all been touched by these people, and we love these people, you know, and as he says in the movie, I want to do everything I can to help you get back on your feet. And there's nothing harder in life than when you can't figure out what to do. You try everything, and you must never stop, you know. Your heart just has to keep growing. But when I first was in his apartment and I was talking to him about the screenplay, this is what happened. And I thought he was having hay fever, and I realized he was having an emotional reaction. I sat there and I watched Robert De Niro cry for 10 minutes, and I said, wow, he's really connecting with this material, and this would be a beautiful thing if it could work out, because I think his heart would be there, and it is there.
Well, you know, I think one of the reasons the movie is so powerful is clearly because of what we're seeing here today and how much you all were affected by the tragedy.
The one thing I was going to say is that the reason I said to David, let him laugh, I said, let him laugh because I understood what that was. Let him laugh, that's what he would do. And it's his nervous reaction to someone behaving the way I was. So.
Well, it takes experience to understand that and to bring that to the table as well. And, you know, I think one of the many things this movie is doing is it's opening a window into how mental illness is seen and treated and perceived in this country, so we can all talk about it finally. We're going to do that along with former Congressman Patrick Kennedy right after this. The movie Silver Linings Playbook is about dealing with mental illness in the family, and it's something many people, as we've heard today, can relate to, including former Congressman Patrick Kennedy, the son of the late Senator Ted Kennedy, and nephew, of course, of President John F. Kennedy. Patrick, welcome. Thank you for coming by today.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it.
You have been very, very open about your struggles with depression and bipolar disorder. Tell me how that's affected your life.
Well, first of all, I didn't have much of a choice about whether to be open, because when I got ill, it was on the front page of all the newspapers. If I had had diabetes and went out and had 3 pieces of chocolate cake, the press wouldn't have asked me about it. But if I was self-medicating because I had a couple of shots at the bar that I was trying to hide, that was fodder, because we look at mental illness as a character flaw, not as a chemistry issue of the brain. And what we hope to do in the years ahead through more research is understand that behavior is a symptom of neuroscience. So when the brain isn't firing right, you act out. And that's the nature of us fearing mental health. But we need to have a dialogue about this, and I really salute the cast and the whole crew for this movie, because it helps introduce that dialogue to the American public.
You know, everybody hears the term bipolar disorder, but I think people still really don't understand it. And I think part of our efforts to help people is to explain things. So what exactly is bipolar disorder, Patrick?
Well, broadly speaking, bipolar is otherwise described as manic depressive. So you have manic episodes where your mood is elevated, very euphoric, and then you have depressive episodes where you're really down in the dumps, and no matter what's going on in your life, the way you look at it is through that set of eyeglasses of everything's bleak and irreparable, and I can't do anything in my life productive. And you can make a lot of self-destructive decisions when you're in those, either one of those episodes, because you either are making the decision based upon a false sense of the world around you when you're euphoric, or a false sense of the world around you when you're depressed.
Do you think things are changing, though, David, when it comes to neuroscience and our understanding of the brain? Because I feel like we are kind of at the threshold of really understanding brain chemistry much better than ever before.
I think it's certainly much better. It breaks my heart to think of anybody 20 years ago or 40 years ago, what they had to face. I can't even imagine it. We've evolved so much from that time, and it continues to evolve. But I think the congressman is right. We have to continue to evolve.
And then the resources have been cut so significantly in recent years. Mental facilities have been shuttered.
That's right.
You know, Barbara Feeney, who's the chairman of the board of my son's school, you know, she's fighting to pass a law in the state of New York because they're combining, due to collapsed budget, they're combining, you know, people who have drug or criminal issues, who may or may not have a mental illness or not, with kids who haven't committed crimes, who are just facing neurological or bipolar issues. They're lumping them all together. That's no good. It's not just about medicine, it's also about behavioral therapy, which has been the most important thing in my son's life. And, you know, and I've learned from it for me. There's no one I know hardly who wouldn't benefit from it. And that's what's in the movie. And like you said in the movie, he's stigmatized. He doesn't want to take his medication. And that's half the fight. Oh, I don't want to be a guy who takes medication. Okay, now we're going to have a problem.
When we come back, we're going to talk about taking away the stigma and how we can better serve mentally ill people in our country. We'll do that right after this. We're talking to the Oscar-nominated men of Silver Linings Playbook and former Congressman Patrick Kennedy. I think this movie has a lot of us thinking and talking about mental illness in this country. Let's talk solutions, but I want to use a real-world example. Adam Lanza, the young man who murdered 26 people, 20 little children in Newtown, Connecticut in December, was clearly mentally ill, had a lot of issues. Patrick, how could this have been avoided?
We don't intervene. And that's the big problem, because we wait until these issues become crisis issues instead of treating them early. If you treat preventively, that would have addressed this issue.
So how do we change things? How do we intervene at an earlier point? And what about the stigma? And what about other resources that are necessary?
Until we have people talk about this, which is what this movie helps us begin to do, and gain a level of acceptance, people are still not going to avail themselves of treatment, even if it's provided. And the treatment itself will not be what we want it to be, because no one's going to Washington, D.C. and advocating for mental health treatment. By the way, Congress is not going to do this alone. We need to tell them, listen, we care about this, and we're going to watch how you vote.
And this is another kind of a thing that I want our government to do everything they can to make sure every family that's struggling has, and every community, because as the film shows, it takes a whole community to say, look at this is not cool. Let's help this. Let's pay attention to this.
Bradlee and Bob, what is it like? I know you've gotten so much feedback, as David has, for this movie, to know that this has really opened up a dialogue about mental illness in this country, and that it's also helping individuals who I think relate so much to both of your characters in the film.
Yeah, I mean, just sort of piggybacking on what you were saying, the way to change the political framework is social awareness. I mean, that's the only way that's going to happen. So that's the sort of primary element, and that's what, you know, luckily I feel like, you know, cinema is, as Sean Penn said a couple weeks ago, is a noble profession. And I really do believe that, because it's powerful. It's a powerful medium. It's certainly changed a lot in my life. And, you know, things like this movie, bringing awareness, taking a destigmatizing, doing these sorts of things, you know, will all of a sudden these people and groups will crop up and start to have a voice where before they weren't speaking out, and that's what we've experienced.
Is it gratifying for you, Bob, to hear all this spur such a conversation?
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. It's because I wasn't sure that this kind of reaction at all. I just didn't know during the movie when we.
You just thought you were making a great movie.
Yeah, of course.
Which you did. Congressman Patrick Kennedy, thank you so much for coming.
No, and thank you.
Really appreciate
everybody
it.
Produced this film.
Thank you.
And we'll have just a little more with the men of Silver Linings Playbook right after this. With the men of Silver Linings Playbook, Bradlee Cooper, Robert De Niro, and director David O. Russell. And if you've ever wanted to star in a movie with Bradlee, hello. I don't think I'm eligible. Here's your chance. And David, you have an announcement to make?
Well, as I've done for the Devereaux Glen Home School, where my son goes, I sometimes help raise money for the school. to support its program and the many families who even can't afford the program by auctioning off walk-ons in the film. You know, we can't guarantee they'll be speaking, but you will be on screen in the upcoming picture I'm making with Bradlee Cooper, Christian Bale, Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and a woman to be named.
I'm available.
And Katie Couric is the fifth lead. And so I guess you would go to your website and bid to have a walk-on in our picture, which we'll be shooting on the East Coast this spring. So,
which is so great. So thank you for doing that. And you can go to katiecouric.com for more information about that. Anyway, a huge thank you to David O. Russell, Bradlee Cooper, Bob De Niro. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And for anyone who hasn't seen it, Silver Linings Playbook is in theaters now, and everyone in our audience today is going home with a copy of the soundtrack, which I love. My Sharia Moore. Have fun. Good luck at the Oscars. I'll be watching in my pajamas and cheering you on. Thank you all so much. I would like to come one day. Maybe if Bradlee's mom can't make it. Anyway, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.